Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Naoto. How's it going, Nikki?
Going well, man. A lot of good fights to catch up on.
Almost every week I either say not much boxing this week, or more likely too much boxing this week. Naoto, where should we start?
Yeah, seriously.
It's the latter this week, so pick a card, any card.
Pick a card, any card. I guess might as well go to HBO, since that tends to be the premiere.
HBO.
Yeah, HBO in HD.
Obviously.
So I guess we could start with Jezreel Corrales and Alberto Machado. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening in right now, waiting for I don't know, I guess like some sort of like breakdown from me. Like, and I don't mean breakdown as in breaking down the fight. I mean breakdown as in like an emotional breakdown.
Start screaming.
Because, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Huh?
Start screaming down the mic and just getting angry that the guy that's ducking the Lomachenko's ducking him and all that shit. But yeah, what did you think, man? I thought he was doing very well. It's just that's boxing, Naoto, man. That's why we watch it. You can be winning a fight comfortably and then bang.
Bang. Exactly. And I mean, and especially when you're fighting a guy with the kind of power that Machado has, and when you're as reckless as Corrales can be, oftentimes. But he, I mean, otherwise, yeah, he was doing pretty fantastic, honestly. Like, it almost kind of reminds me a bit of like, say, like a Darchinyan-Darnaire situation, or like a Mike Jones versus Randall Bailey, where it's like one guy was winning, pretty much going away, and then boom, he just got caught. Although he had gotten caught in the 6th round also with that nice short right hook. That was a beautiful shot. That was such a good fucking punch from Machado. And yeah, he was hurt pretty much the whole round. He tackled him, was pretty clever in being able to just grab a hold of him and everything and get his head back about him. And then he wobbled Machado back in the 7th round. He got some get back there with that overhand left. Overhand left caught him up like high on the temple. And managed to go ahead. Again,
in the 7th, he kind of got a bit lucky because he got hit and he was off balance and the glove touched down. And your namesake Nelson didn't count as a knockdown.
Yeah. The ref wasn't having a great night. I'll get to that in a second.
You hate that ref anyway, don't you?
He's not that good. I wouldn't say I hate him, but he's definitely not on my high list of like high tier refs or anything. But the last round, finally the 8th, Corrales was doing reasonably well. I thought he had kind of taken control of the action back again. But Machado, they literally caught each other at the same time. They hit each other with the same punch at the same time. 2 left crosses. Machado got there just like a split second ahead of Corrales's. And Machado looked actually even hurt in the midst of the aftermath of Corrales kind of falling onto him, and also the punch, the left cross.
Yeah, the way he kind of stumbled onto the ropes.
Yeah, but Machado, that left cross was just a beaut, man. And Corrales walked right into it. It was like a Pacquiao versus Marquez-esque shot, that he just kind of lunged into. And then Machado even kind of didn't really catch him with the right hook afterwards, but he almost like cranked his neck with like the inside of his elbow. And even though that's not a scoring blow, it does damage. It's like, especially if your equilibrium is already knocked all over the place to begin with, that follow-up can, exacerbate it, basically. But I thought the ref was a little bit quick with the count, maybe just a tad. And then, honestly, to, world champion, a guy that had managed to recover earlier in the fight, I do think that he should have been given the benefit of the doubt, see if he could recover, be able to survive the rest of the round, and then see where it goes from there. But even then, Machado, he did what he had to do. He put him down, and that was just a nasty shot. He was landing a little bit better and a little bit cleaner as the fight pressed on. So, I mean, who knows? Corrales, if he started to run out of gas towards the later rounds, Machado may have had more of a sitting duck in front of him. It's kind of funny because I actually expected the opposite to happen. I thought Machado was going to start faster and be able to kind of keep Corrales at bay, with the length and the height. But it turned out Corrales was he just had a beat on him from the jump, with that left cross. He was landing it repeatedly. Although he wasn't able to quite do damage with it until probably the middle rounds, really, was where he really started to land it. And like you thought, like, oh shit, Machado might go. any one of these punches now. But yeah, it was really a good fight. And like you said before, this is why we watch boxing. Corrales definitely was up in the fight. Machado clipped him, just had one of those kind of one hit quitter type shots that he landed, and that was pretty much it. And I'd like to see a rematch, honestly. Corrales was adamant about trying to demand one in the post-fight interview and everything, and I think it's very much warranted. Machado definitely stamped his name as a new guy to be reckoned with at 130, and I do think that. The only problem though is me saying that is Corrales missed weight by so much fucking weight to begin with, and so it's a wonder if he'd be able to make it in a rematch. Not only that, but Freddie Roach tends to be with contracts and weights and missing weight and stuff like that. So it is somewhat doubtful that will wind up happening, and Corrales would most likely in the near future probably have to campaign at 135. Yeah, I mean, considering he missed it by that much, and also considering the fact that he was 146 on the night. So was Machado, but still, I mean, when you miss weight by that much and you're regaining that much as well, it kind of paints a picture of this. You probably shouldn't be fighting at this weight to begin with. So.
Was Machado mandatory or voluntary?
He was a volunteer.
So do you think they would have stipulated in the contract for a rematch?
I think he was anyway. I could probably actually check right now.
But yeah, I can't really add anything to what you said because you broke it down perfectly. And fast start by Corrales. I thought maybe he'd be a bit flat early on, considering the amount that he missed weight by. And those overhand lefts early on, like in the second, and then continuously that he was just landing clean. And Machado showed he's got a great chin, but I don't know. I thought he was quite basic. His power got him out of it toward the end of the fight. It was almost a kind of highlight reel shot when both guys just land their power punches at exactly the same time. You had a little incident with the gum shield popping out and getting caught by Machado. It's kind of like a fun-filled action fight where loads of little oddities happened, and I enjoyed it. I watched it today. I just didn't really get time over the weekend, and it was good, man. I definitely agree that Corrales deserves a rematch, and I think to right the wrong of him getting knocked out, and I agree again, poor stoppage, I think he'll just do anything to make 130. Maybe he just misjudged the weight this time, maybe he had a bad count, but the way he was kind of interrupting Max during the post-fight, saying I want a rematch, he's definitely going to pursue that, I think.
Yeah. Although, that might bite him in the ass because, if he does make weight and he's not 100%, that might just make him a more open target for Machado's power shots. But like you said, though, considering Machado's level of ability, I wouldn't even consider him on the same level. Really, even though he got the knockout, he was losing the fight pretty conclusively. So, in spite of the fact that, as I had kind of beat on, repeatedly before about Corrales being the top guy in the division, I wouldn't place Machado there. I wouldn't just place him there in his place simply because he beat him. If anything, Burchell would go up and then Lomachenko would go up above both of them simply because of the fact that, what he's done lately. And then, Machado kind of drops Corrales down in the rankings and then he would slot in just above him as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I was so shocked by the amount that he missed weight and the fact that when he went to take a bit off and he came back, he barely took anything off, and it's crazy. It's a large amount for that weight division just to come overweight by.
Yeah, it was 4 pounds or 4 and some ounces or whatever, and then he came back. What was it, 3.5?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was a scales issue, but if it wasn't, man, that's pretty poor from him and his team.
I mean, usually if it's a scale issue, it would be, some other fighters would have had the same issue too. Because I know that normally they'll allow you to weigh in on the official scale.
No, do they? Okay, no, I meant the scale they were using in camp before, to get him down to the weight.
Yeah, true, yeah. It might be some cheap Bathroom Digital scale or something.
Home Depot scale.
Yeah, weigh your food out on it. Maybe that's where he fucked up. He was weighing it out wrong. Too many calories in camp.
Yeah, I'm done with that fight, Nato, unless you got anything to add.
No, that's pretty much it. Good fight. And props to Machado for not kind of letting Corrales overwhelm him, kind of the way that the co-feature, the way that Fox did with Andrade. We'll get to that, but he managed to get a belt, and finally Freddie Roach has another fighter with some prospects, some good prospects in the near future. So there you go.
How did
I'm sure Lim is happy.
Was it through Cotto and him being Puerto Rican? Because I saw the Miguel Cotto Promotions on the banner at the top above the ring.
Probably.
So, yeah.
Probably. That's how you linked up.
No worries. Let's talk about Andrade versus Fox then, man. Wow, this motherfucker made middleweight 6'5", man. I think the commentary team, Lampley, Kellerman, and Ward spent like 2 minutes just talking about fighters that were tall.
Yeah, man.
Killing a bit of airtime.
Yeah, man. Andrade is huge. Well, not only is he tall, but he was 180 pounds when he stepped in there.
Yeah, Fox.
Big motherfucker, dude.
Yeah, you said Andrade.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fox. Yeah, I was thinking Alantes Andrade. In spite of that, it just showed with Andrade, that sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the fighters involved. But Andrade definitely looked like really the more physically kind of strong out of the two. Although maybe that extra height and weight and everything allowed Fox to take a lot of those shots. Because, Andrade was looking to land a home run, highlight reel knockout from the first round. I think he kind of gave up on it a bit later because he realized that it wasn't going to come. And, as much as he was able to cleanly connect on Fox with pretty much whatever shot he felt like, Fox would kind of, get momentarily stunned, but then he'd be able to kind of gather himself pretty quickly thereafter. I thought it was a relatively good performance for Andrade. I guess there's a lot of people saying like, oh, like it was boring and blah, blah, but Fox for his worth, showed a pretty good chin, pretty good punch resistance. So, I can't really blame Andrade too much. This is kind of his re-debut. He's at 160 now. I think he slots in well against anybody at 160. Let's see him fight these top guys that we've been kind of clamoring for him to be fighting to begin with. And at least now, there isn't as much promotional heat kind of, between him and actually getting the fights that he wants to get, because the PB season is involved as much at 160. So, I'm down to see him fight whoever comes across. And as for Fox, it was just too big of a step up too soon for him. He might not ever be ready, like a class sometimes tells in situations like this. And he didn't necessarily show anything in particular that would make him seem to have like future great prospects, other than the fact that, he's just extremely tall, and fighting somebody that's that big is going to make for an awkward time for just about anybody.
Yeah. Andrade had his way with Fox. It was just so easy, especially in that first round. I thought, he might eventually get him out because he hurt him with the overhand left and jumped on him, but didn't manage to drop him. But yeah, I agree to your point in the sense of you can't really blame Andrade, but it was. I think when you're in that opportunity, especially with him, even in the little video they shown before his fight, he's talking about how his career's been stop-start on politics and stuff like that. And for you to get, co-feature, I think he could have tried a bit harder personally, man, just to, towards the end of it, just try and take him out. He just like he was comfortable and he was happy being comfortable, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. But, styles make fights, and that works out for not only who's going to win or lose a fight, but also how you're going to look in a particular showdown, against a particular style. And just wasn't meant to be for Andrade to get the highlight reel KO that gets people, saying like, oh, like this guy, like Canelo needs to fight this guy next, or Golovkin needs to fight this guy next, or what have you. But him against any of those guys, I think is an interesting fight.
Him and Murata,
Jacobs,
him and Murata, man.
Yeah, him and Murata be excellent. It looks like actually that might wind up happening because Murata has which I can't remember which one it is, the regular or the interim WBA title, so it makes him technically the mandatory, but it's most likely that he's going to wind up having to fight in the limiter against Andrade to actually become the mandatory for Golovkin, which is really strange. But yeah, that's a great fight. We'll get to Murata versus Endom shortly, but I like it. Toss him in there against him or anybody else.
Yeah, and just lastly, in the 7th round, that knockdown was some BS, man. Like, it was a slip and the ref counted it as a KD. Even though like a kind of punch landed prior, like towards the chest, but come on, man, it was an obvious slip.
Yeah.
All right, we've done the HBO card. Where should we go to next?
Well, I mean, kind of connected to the HBO card. I don't know if you want to talk about Burnett and Zhakiyanov, since they kind of co-broadcasted it. Or if that's going to lead us into a black hole, or I don't know.
It probably
it's
will,
up to you, man.
but Leon's not on, so I'll make that black hole short. So we'll start off with the top of the building, Burnett versus Zhakiyanov. I thought it was a horrible fight, Neota, man. Like, too much clinching, and I don't even want to. Initially, wanted to blame Burnett, but it was 6 of one, half a dozen of other, because like Zhakyanov's arm would be wrapped around Burnett's right hand, and then Burnett's right hand would be wrapped around Zhakyanov's left hand. It was just both of them doing it. No one really got a severe warning. And it just ruined the flow of the fight, man. It was just hard to enjoy. And the times where Burnett would kind of box up kind of mid-range, he was having good success. Like, Zhakiyanov couldn't really do anything. He was trying to come close and he was getting picked off with the shots. The combinations were decent. And yeah, apart from the odd time within the odd round where he was fighting at distance, it was a horrible, horrible fight for me.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate because it was unification, and looking at it on the face of it, I thought it was going to be good clash of styles and everything that Zhakiyanov would force Burnett to fight and fight his fight, but it turned out they were both basically clinching. They were both comfortable clinching each other and doing whatever work they could get off. As they were kind of wrapping around each other. This was very much like that kind of grappling, wrestling type of boxing fight that most people don't really like to see. But I mean, the scorecards were terrible. On top of the fight not really living up to what it could have been. I thought Burnett won, but I didn't think he won by such crazy margins. Like, honestly, it was really more of like a kind of a 55-45 type fight in the end. Burnett, should have got the dub, but shouldn't have gotten it by those margins. Zhakiyanov, he was having trouble at distance. He was doing pretty well inside, but it seemed like in the later rounds he started to slow down. His punch output dropped, and that just allowed Burnett to kind of outwork him towards the end. Because in the beginning I thought Zhakiyanov kind of had the physical advantage. He was pushing Burnett back. He was kind of bullying him, and he was getting off quicker than Burnett was. And Burnett's hands were just too low, especially for a guy that was that close to him for the most part. But it's once Zhakiyanov's gas tank kind of started to get towards E, around the 7th round or so. That's when Burnett started to kind of just, outwork him, outgun him, and he managed to unify the belts. And it's kind of unfortunate because it's like Burnett's kind of come almost at the perfect time with 118 somewhat in flux. Luis Neri tested positive after knocking out Yamanaka. So I mean, who knows if Yamanaka is going to be the same after the beatdown. Not only that, but he's also at an advanced age, or if he's starting to slow down and that beating has a concurrent effect along with that, or if Neri's even going to get another shot considering the positive test. And then you got a bunch of the other guys that were top fighters at the division have moved up since, or moved down in the case of Payano and Warren respectively. And then you got Moreno who moved up, Kameda who moved up, Tomoki Kameda. And so, the bantamweight division is kind of wide open right now. So, you got Zlatan Tete out there, but it's doubtful that they'll risk Burnett against him anytime soon, even though that's really the fight that should happen next. That's the most logical one. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see some of the guys at 115 try to, ply it up at 118, because I think it's wide open for any number of those guys to go in there and almost kind of take over if they wanted to, just based off of level of ability.
Yeah. Shall I go down just the rest of the undercard?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Fights I enjoyed, I'll start off with. It was a short one, but sweet. James Tennyson versus Darren Traynor. Just a just a war of 3 rounds, man. If you've not seen it, I'm sure it's on YouTube or Daily Motion somewhere. If you can't find it, holler at me and I'll try and send you a link. But it was just fun, man. Both guys coming out swinging, throwing lots of shots. Tennyson just had a bit more weight on his shots. He visibly hurting Trainer, and the second round was excellent. I'm just trying to bring up my notes that I wrote down on it. Sky Belfast, there we go. Second round, right hand over the jab, drop Trainer. He got up, they both started exchanging. He managed to land, I think it was a left hook on Tennyson. He got hurt, and then after that, he started to come back and hurt Trainer towards the end of the round, man. It was just one of those great back and forth rounds. And in the third, Tennyson managed to drop Trainer with the right hand. He was pretty visibly hurt, took a while to get up, and it was waved off by Fat Terry O'Connor, because I think it was right as well, because he took a while to get up. He wasn't really, his body language didn't really show that he wanted to continue, so it was a good stoppage. Paul Highland Jr. versus Stephen Orman. I thought Orman nicked it just off the eye test. I wasn't sitting there physically scoring it, but Orman was just more comfortable on the inside. He's got enough body shot combinations, and Highland maybe was more successful early on, but Orman kind of took over, and Highland just really couldn't keep him off him towards the going down the stretch of the fight. And yeah, I thought Orman nicked it. I think he was unlucky. Even like social media, my Twitter feed mostly had it for Orman, so unlucky there for Orman. But if you look through the fight, he was warned for head clashes. This guy doesn't learn, man. He got DQ'd against Flanagan. There's numerous other fights where he's had points deducted for it, and I think it is his style as well. He kind of dips low and then gets close, but you got to maybe change your style a bit, man, because this shit's gonna lose your fights if you're getting points deducted and DQ'd. But what else we got? Josh Kelly. Everyone calls him, Pretty Boy Kelly, man. I want to call him Machine Gun Kelly, just because of that machine gun left hook that he throws, especially against the dude that he knocked out in Newcastle a couple of months ago. But yeah, he looks good, man. Everyone was raving about him after this fight, but you can't take much away from the fight because his opponent wasn't really that good. There was a terrible stoppage. The ref just fucking decided to stop it for no reason, and that guy Zuniga looked like he wanted to continue. But his right uppercuts are beautiful, man. I think he's been taking a leaf out of Eubank's book, but he is good, man. I just worry about when he faces someone that's got decent punch and decent timing, then how is he going to react if he gets hit clean? But up to now, yeah, man, he evades and slips his shots very well. Last one, Anthony Fowler versus whoever he fought. It's interesting, this one, because last time Fowler fought in Liverpool, I was giving him props. I thought he was very methodical with the jab. I actually used that word. And then Andy Lee, who must be listening to the Coalition or something, actually used the same expression. So, hi Andy Lee if you're listening. Yeah, and it's weird because from what the commentary team was saying, and Dave Caldwell, like, he wasn't happy with that Liverpool performance. He thought he was chasing the dude too much, but I thought he was good. He was methodical with the jab. He was body work was breaking the dude down. And this fight, I don't know, it's the opposite. Like, I mean, Caldwell wants him to be fucking boring. It was really one paced. He didn't go through the gears. He was still very good with the jab, but he didn't really apply much else. So I was disappointed. Caldwell's happy, good for him, but I didn't really take much away from this. His opponent, to be fair, was one of those guys that just knows how to last and not get hurt and not get knocked out. He's just one of those journeymen that can do it. But still, man, you're a guy that fought at a high level as an amateur, so you should be able to work your way around those little kind of old man tricks. But yeah, lastly, Neil, I want to talk about Andy Lee. So Andy Lee, a couple months ago, criticised Sky Sports commentary on a card they broadcasted, and he was on the commentary team on Saturday and just doing exactly the same thing he was criticising.
Yeah.
What goes around comes around, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it happens, man. It's pretty funny talking about guys having like their best friends on the commentary team and stuff, and like he had nothing but high praises for Burnett in spite of the fact that the fight was really a total dud.
Yeah, well, you say that. I think he was more critical about Burnett, and like he even mentioned it. He goes, "Oh, he's my friend," and that. But I thought he like lost that round. So yeah, I'll give him props. But when he was talking about Josh Kelly, another kind of stable mate and trainer mate, both trained by Adam Booth, like. You can't do that, man. I don't understand why Sky even do that, because Sky put the person in a difficult situation. Because if he shits on the guy, he's got to see that guy every day in the gym, so he's gonna fucking turn on him. And if he's too,
I think the idea is that they you're intimately close with this person. You know in their everyday lives or what have you. So you might be able to give greater insight into what may be going on in their head or their strategy or what have you. But yeah, more often than not, it just becomes them freaking big up in whoever their friend is or whatever, for the very reason that you're talking about right now. It's just the fact that they don't want to be talking shit about, or not even just talking shit, but speaking the truth and being critical about guys that they have to see every day and interact with or whatever, because it might wind up coming back around to them, or it just might make it socially awkward, from the jump, and wind up with some Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque freaking conversations happening about somebody being pissed off at what you said about him.
Yeah, I see your point, but I think the easy thing to do is just not have him on commentary. Maybe have him there as a pundit, but just don't have him on the commentary. It's like when they have Paul Smith commentating on every Gallagher trained fighter. It's like, well, the guy's in the gym with him every day. He's not going to criticize him.
Yeah.
It's
like,
worse.
yeah, he still has even if he's getting the crap beat out, like, he's still got a chance. And see, that's what I know about him, is that
he's got a heart.
He's never going to say die.
Exactly. It's just stupid, man. But yeah, I'm done with that Belfast card, Naota.
All right, might as well go over to Japan. Let's start. Might as well start, I guess, with the biggest fight, the one that was shown over here on ESPN in the States and everything. Ryota Murata and taking out Hassan Indam Injekam for the, I think it was the WBA regular belt. And he didn't leave it to the judges this time. He got screwed over somehow in the first fight in Japan. They took it back there, and he took the judges out of the equation entirely. Went out there, was a lot more active. He went out there with a lot, just worse intentions than he had in the first fight, where he seemed to be just fine with kind of smacking around Indam, but not really putting it on him and trying to go for the stoppage. Here, he definitely went in there, broke Indam down, landed a lot of really good left hooks to the body, on top of the other shots that he was landing, good right hands, left hooks to the head. Indam, for his worth, though, I mean, he showed himself to be reasonably scrappy. He somewhat did in the first fight, too, even though he was just completely outmatched. But here, I think he knew that he wasn't going to get any kind of benefits of the doubt this time, so he went out there, he put it out there a bit more, and he took his beating, and the right man won. The right man from the first fight won, and just like before, when Murata was supposed to be a guy that should be talked about along with the likes of Golovkin and Canelo, he should be now. Absolutely, along with them, along with Charlo, Jacobs, Andrade. Any of them, line them up. Murata is a high-level fighter. He's shown come through a little bit better on the promise that I had seen from the Olympics. He definitely has some defensive liabilities here and there, but I mean, he seems to have a really good chin and just a hell of a lot of punching power. And he's got reasonably good skills. So I definitely want to see him against the top guys. Let's see truly how deep the well is with him.
Yeah, that was not one of the fights I managed to catch, so I'll try and see it over the week. But I did catch the Higa Mason fight, was it?
Oh, yeah. Higa versus Mason. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
It was enjoyable, man. I never seen a guy, throw so many uppercuts at one go.
Through, triple left uppercut.
Yeah, he does love an uppercut, doesn't
he? Yeah. I think part of that too, though, was because of the fact that there were occasions where Mason was kind of giving away his height on the inside, and he would kind of lean into him. So it's like he just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna start ratcheting it up on him."
Yeah, man, he's fun to watch. You can tell he's heavy-handed, but props to Mason because he took a slow beating in that fight, and he was always trying. Like after Higa would throw those 7 uppercuts, man, the dude would try and like leap in and throw a hook or something while Higa's stepping out to the outside. And yeah, man, he was continuously trying, but he was just outgunned, man. He had a pea shooter and Higa had a 12 gauge.
Yeah, man. Higa's, like I said before the fight, he's a beast. He's an action fighter's delight. Like to me, he probably should be on the short list of guys that, like, if you like to watch, knockouts, if you like to watch guys, just throwing hands and, with bad intentions, looking to really do damage to an opponent, he's got to be on that short list. Absolutely. I guess like akin to what Lampley has with the Gaddy list, like Higa's must see. He's must see. Absolutely. I think in a way, him and Hiroto Kyoguchi, the IBF strawweight champion, I had said this to you over the weekend, Cam, that I think they were heavily kind of influenced and inspired by Chocolatito because their styles are very, very similar to his. Although there's certain things that they do a little bit different. Of course, they institute certain portions of what they want to do in it. He'll take a couple of steps back here and there, a lot more so than Gonzalez ever did, and he tends to be a little bit more moderately paced. He's not just that kind of constant stream of free-flowing punches. It's like when he puts them together, but it's like he'll kind of pick and choose his spots a little bit more. But I mean, he just has knockout power upon knockout power. 14-0 with 14 knockouts now, and it's looking like his next opponent is going to be the mandatory Muhammad Wasim, your boy from Pakistan,
my Pakistani
by way
brethren.
of South Korea. So you're a Lim's boy together. The combined power
Our love child
of Captain Planet.
He is a hero, though.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a really good fight. I think Wasim, even just in the small number of fights he's had, I think he's only like 9-0 now. He's been moved really quickly. He had a very extensive amateur career, though. He had a gold medal, I think it was in the World Combat Championships or something like that in 2013 or 2014, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And he's a good fighter, really, really well skilled. Comes out of the Mayweather gym, trained by Jeff Mayweather. I think it's a good, interesting matchup. He's really going to be put to the test though, because Higa's just a nonstop. He's a buzzsaw. That's probably the best way to put it. He's a buzzsaw. He cuts you down. Hassan, like you said, was really scrappy in there against him. He was throwing a lot of punches, trying to catch Higa on the way in and everything. And he did a little bit. I thought Hassan used the jab pretty nicely at times, but it was just the case of Higa wasn't going to stop. He would jab with him. He would jab or he would throw the right hand over the jab. And he was just constantly putting pressure on Masson, never letting Masson really get any kind of forward momentum, and just kind of beat him up, beat him down, and took him out. And just a great win for Higa. I think he's pretty much the premier guy at 112. I really don't see anybody beating him, or at least I wouldn't favor anybody over him at the moment, including the fellow champions like Ioka. He's kind of that guy that's, I think, going to carry the torch for the time being. I saw Andrew Selby talking about, possibly fighting him. Somebody actually even tweeted him. I retweeted it, saying like, "Hey, Andrew Selby, you want to make history?" Because I guess Higa's trying to break the record for most consecutive knockouts in like championship world boxing fights or in Japanese championship fights or something like that. And somebody was like, "Hey, Andrew Selby, want to make history?" And Selby said, like, he gave Higa his props. He says like, "Yeah, he can punch a bit, but I'm no slouch either." And honestly, I'd like to see that fight. Hey, if Selby's gonna talk all this and that about fighting the best and fighting Higa in particular, then fuck it, I want to see that fight.
That's a good fight.
I think Higa cuts him down too. He showed against Masson that he can deal with a tall opponent just as well as he deals with guys his own size.
Yeah, I would favour Higa, but I have one small criticism though. Have you seen the way he gets on the inside? He uses the same technique every time. So basically, high guard, dips down and just steps forward, and it's predictable, man. Someone with a good job should be able to keep him on the outside.
Yeah, and like I was talking about with Masson, he did manage to do that when he kind of tripled and quadrupled up on that jab. He was able to kind of get a little bit of range on Higa, but then he wouldn't follow up on that, and then Higa was able to just kind of get inside right after that, say like that triple or quadruple jab, and then do his work. Yeah. So the follow up is where he missed out on. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. There are definitely some flaws there. But I mean, if I remember correctly, I think he's the youngest champion in boxing. So I mean, for anything that people want to talk about, like so and so has so much to grow from. I mean, you can't have much more to grow from than or much higher a level to grow from than being the youngest guy that is on the elite level. So there you go.
And that last fight in Japan, Kenshiro versus Pedro Guevara?
Yeah, Kenshiro versus Pedro Guevara. Fortunately, or unfortunately, rather, I haven't been able to get like the best copy of it, other than when I saw it live when it was
no
HD.
Going on.
No, man. Like I was telling you, the only copy I found was of like somebody's like cell phone camera recording, I guess, the big screen in the arena. And it was all pixelated and shit. It looked like a game of Punch Out.
That's an L right there. Like, you're a hardcore if you watch that shit, man.
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight between the two. It played out very similar to how I thought it would. The guys, Shiro and Guevara are like mirror images of each other. Their styles are completely almost like identical. So it was almost like an extended version of what you might have seen with when Jamal Charlo fought against Julian, J-Rock Williams, where, they were kind of matching up and they were landing like almost the same punches at the same time from the same angles against each other. When they would go to the body at the same time, they'd both go to the head at the same time. You saw a lot of those extended exchanges like you saw with Machado and Corrales, like that ending where he knocked him out, except neither guy was able to quite hurt each other. Both guys are reasonably big punchers, but not necessarily knockout artists. But both of them do have solid chins. And Shiro managed to get his second straight majority decision over a high-level, mandatory fighter. This time Guevara. Last time it was Ganigan Lopez, and funny enough, his next fight is probably going to be against Ganigan Lopez again in a rematch. Incidentally, honestly, I thought that Lopez and Guevara probably both deserved to edge Shiro. But I mean, being that it was in Japan, Japanese scorecards, they tend to be pretty fair. I mean, to fighters that are visiting. I mean, just look at the Endom Murata fight for an extreme example, probably the most extreme example of that.
No, but mostly they are very fair. Like a lot of away fighters do get decisions in Japan. Yeah,
definitely. Even like Corrales in the second fight against Uchiyama, where Uchiyama actually made that fight reasonably close. But yeah, I mean, usually they away fighters tend to get pretty good scorecards over there. I think that Shiro may have just been basically gotten a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt in both of those fights, but they were both pretty much 50-50 fights, so I don't necessarily complain entirely with Shiro getting the decision. I think he at the very least did enough to give the argument for that he won both fights. I think maybe this fight a little bit more so than Lopez. Because I thought he tired out a bit worse against Lopez. Here with Guevara, there was so much tit for tat, and so many of the rounds were so close because of the fact that their styles were like mirror images. It could be hard to kind of parse out exactly who was more effective in any given round. So I could see a pretty wide variety of scorecards in this case. But I mean, he's got built up a pretty nice couple of victories for himself. I mean, two of probably the better victories of anybody at 108, and I mean 108 it's a hot division. Between him, Reichi Taguchi, the WBA champ, the IBF champ Milan Melindo, he's probably going to have to rematch Hecky Butler again in the near future, because it looks like that there was a lot of people that thought Butler really deserved to win that one. And then Kosei Tanaka, the man that's been talking about collecting belts in multiple weight classes. It's a division kind of akin to 115, where I mean, if any of those guys actually moved up to 112, I think they could almost take over, save Higa's existence there. But I mean, a lot of talent at 108 as far as I'm concerned. Pretty much the top 10 is filled with any number of guys that are pretty much 50-50 matches against each other.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to New Jersey. Neil, to last week, I was saying to you, I don't understand why they put this fight here, and you're like, well, I think it has got like a high Polish population, so that would make sense. But you know where else has got a high Polish population? Poland.
Very true, very true.
But no, it was the crowd was decent. But wow, from Gassiev, man, like quiet first. He started to land that right hand in the second, and boom, that left uppercut, left hook to kind of just below the elbow. Wow, like he got shot with a 12 gauge, man.
Yeah, that was like Golovkin level shit. That was a Golovkin, prime Golovkin style knockout.
Yeah.
And beautiful stuff. That's what I like to see. I like to see, fighters that are really in their prime take out guys that are old and deserved and are meant to be passing the torch on. That's what I like to see. And so good for Gassiev for doing the job and giving me a good show and giving pretty much everybody a good show, I think. And now we got the mouth-watering matchup of him versus Dorticos to look forward to, and that is must see. And just like I said with Dorticos against Kudryashov, if you missed that fight, fuck you. But it's I think a lot of more people are aware of the WBSS and Dorticos and Gassiev as well, going into this fight a lot more so than they had been before. So good shit, man. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see more of these World Boxing Super Series, man. As soon as they're done with these two, we got to start doing this. We got to do it until every division is done, and then do it all over again. We got to make this like a constant, like placeholder in boxing.
Consistent.
The sport needs it. The sport deserves it. And I think the fans deserve it. We deserve to see, high-level guys evenly matched fighting against each other.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because since the success of the World Boxing Super Series, I saw Kid Galahad on Twitter trying to, make their own version and get all the top featherweights involved. And he was basically calling everyone out in the division, Quigg and Frampton and everyone else.
Featherweight would be a prime one to have it for.
There's so many that you could just have great fights, but we're just going back to Gassiev, Doricos, man. What a fight, man! On paper, like that should be. I know they don't always work out, but that should be a hell of a fight, man. That should be a war. Like whoever lands cleanest first. Woof.
Yeah, and like Overbrev alluded to it in the chat about like the lack of head movement. Both of them don't necessarily move their head entirely. To an exceptional degree, like even Dorticos tends to use a lot more of like his foot movement and somewhat torso movement, but a lot more like his defense is based on his feet more so than really like his upper body moving independently. So honestly, I think the two of them are really going to be throwing some bombs at each other. Dorticos probably a little bit more so to the head, and Gassiev I'm sure is going to really be targeting that body to see if he can get another knockout like he just got. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. The two of them, I don't expect anything but for them two to come into that center of the ring, the first round, and start throwing fucking haymakers at each other like a game of Fight Night round 3.
Yeah, just power button pressed continuously, just throwing bombs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, that has Fight of the Year, candidate written all over it to me.
Definitely.
Right. Round of the Year maybe, because it probably won't last long enough to be a Fight of the Year with all the twists and turns.
That is true, actually. It might be a quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Go back to the UK. Leeds. Box Nation had a card at the same time of the Sky card. It was probably a better card overall, but the main event wasn't that great. Is all these years, Nilton? Well, not years, because I've only probably reviewed one of his fights. But I used to call him Dennis Salen, but it's apparently Dennis Jalen. I don't know how you get Jalen from a C, but it must be a Danish thing or something. Very surprised.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's some funky pronunciations sometimes when you anglicize certain things. It's like almost like you'd think that they would have just like translated it to a J instead. Yeah. I know like the letters are kind of different depending on the language, but
yeah. Well, Norwegian has a few more characters. I know that because my wife's Norwegian. Yeah. But yeah. You managed to catch this fight?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's good, man. You didn't waste your time
then. Great.
No, it was. Warrington got a stoppage, which is rare, and I think it was a combination of Jalen getting worn down and also getting hit with a few clean shots, and him just being a bit gassed. I think his output definitely dropped, but it's weird. I was probably one of few guys that were kind of high in Warrington, and I don't know if maybe I just saw something in him that wasn't there, or maybe he has regressed. I do think he's regressed. When I look at him now, his footwork's not that good. He used to kind of get in and out of the pocket so fast, and he doesn't seem to do that. He holds his feet a bit in the pocket. His punches, like especially his right hand, used to be very straight and sweet. Now it's a bit of a bent arm punch, and he doesn't throw as many combinations. Like if you look at old Warrington fights, like everything was like a 4 or 5 punch combination, and now it's like barely 3. And then he'll kind of reset and come back again. And yeah, like his performance against Kiko was poor. I thought he lost it. The majority of this performance I thought was average. Obviously he got the win. He's getting in line for the mandatory against Selby. So in that sense, yeah, it's successful for him. But yeah, I think he's gone backwards a bit. What else did we have? We had on paper a decent fight between Jack Catterall and Tyrone Nurse. It started off well, quite technical. Both guys making each other miss a bit. Very good movement from both. But it just kind of fizzed out a bit and just turned quite sloppy. Both guys just sitting on each other's shoulder, like both like, had the shoulder forward, just pushing each other off, and punches got sloppy. There wasn't much accuracy towards the end, and yeah, I thought Catterall definitely won it, and I thought he kind of won it. There were a lot of close rounds, but I almost give every round to Catterall. Not every round, but the majority, and I thought it was an easy win in that sense, even though they were close rounds. It's kind of almost like yeah, you almost think that how can you give it easy when it was a close fight? But yeah, it's just one of those fights where you see it in that way. But the other fight, I didn't see it live, but I saw my Twitter feed. Leon was like raving about it. Leon Woodstock versus Craig Poxton, and it happens so often where people tell you, "Oh, you got to watch this fight, watch this fight." You go to watch it and you expect more, and then you're like, what were they talking about? And then you think, okay, I'll give it the rest of the fight. Maybe there's some knockdowns and some.
You're waiting.
Yeah, and then the fight finished. Naoto, and it's like, why was he raving about it? Like, what did he see? Yeah, it was quite fun. Like early on, and both guys were just standing in the pocket trading. My issue was like Woodstock. A lot of the times, he's a bit of a slapper. He kind of slaps and punches down with his hand. And Poxton, I don't really think has that much energy. It's more about volume rather than power in his punches. So it just got a bit slappy and a bit sloppy for me towards the end of it. It's still a decent scrap, but I just didn't see what everyone else saw. Zelfa Barrett looked good, man. It's kind of a step up for him, English level. Next, maybe go to British now and see where he is. He's 18-0 now. He's still young, but I think they need to push him on. It was a good test. It was Chris Conwell. I don't know, man. He trained by Joe Murray, and I think Joe Murray just trains all his fighters just to fight the way he was. But he was special when he was in his prime. And no, sorry, not Joe Murray. Sorry, John Murray. And yeah, a lot of his fighters just have that high guard and kind of walk forward and try and get in the pocket and let off shots. But yeah, it was easy for Zelfa, man. He was just straight punch is really good. The body work is excellent. Naoto, like, I think you like Barrett if you watch some tape of him. But yeah, impressive from Zelfa. What else do we have? Just looking through the card. I think we're probably done on it, really. Just trying to think if there was anything else. No, I think we're pretty much done. Naoto, fun fight from, I think it was Thursday. Was it Golden Boy on ESPN?
Yeah, Rosado and Tapia.
Yo, I fucking loved that. What was crazy, Naoto, I watched this fight that Leon told me about, and I was like, okay, I wasn't that impressed. And then I watched the Gabe fight versus Glenn, and I was like, oh shit, this is great.
Yeah, that was just kind of like we previewed it. It was a good kind of crossroads, evenly matched fight between the two of them.
I was surprised how easily Gabe was hurting Tapia, man. Like any power punch he landed was hurting him.
Yeah, man. That Tapia has all the looks of a guy that, like, his, that whatever punch resistance he may have had has gone far away. It's been eroded to nothing. Because he's just been taking pretty nasty
nasty shots, repeatedly the last couple of years, pretty much since Kirkland. And I mean, even before that, he was not exactly a defensive genius. So you got to imagine that it probably was slowly eroded, even going all the way back then. But I mean, there were moments where he landed some good shots of his own, good kind of overhand rights or like hooks underneath to the body that were kind of back Rosado off, or maybe kind of momentarily give him some pause. But Rosado, he showed just the level of skill difference between the two of them. Even though they were kind of on the same level in terms of class going into this fight, they were definitely on a different level of like ability, of skill, of technique. Rosado could just do more. He could do pretty much everything that Tapia does, except for punch extremely hard, and also be kind of defensively responsible. Usually with him, it tends to be like more so his skin than anything that kind of lets him down, than any sort of like chinniness or anything like that. But when you talk about chinniness, Tapia showed that in spades, and that kind of that final volley from Rosado where he stopped him was nasty. Like that looked like it was going to get ugly real fast. So it was good that the ref stopped it right there. That was a good reffing job.
Yeah, props to Robert Byrd, one of the best. But yeah, those combinations at the end, man, it was pretty sick. And even throughout the fight, man, Gabe was just landing pretty clean and pretty hard. And it was good to hear that great advice from Billy Briscoe in the corner, Naota.
Oh yeah, the return.
Yeah,
the return of Billy Briscoe.
Like he never left.
Yeah, man. Exactly, man. It's like now Rosado's ready to take over. Shit, he's ready to take over.
He's ready to rematch Lemieux, man. Ready to rematch Golovkin, man.
Rematch Golovkin. Yeah, there you go. Won't be sick this time. Get revenge. That's how they're gonna bill it. But just like repeatedly, he was able to do almost that little thing where it's like he kind of steps, he kind of turns his left shoulder towards his right, and then he just shoots the overhand right. Landed it over and over again, and that's pretty much kind of what started the beginning of the end there too. But Tapia just he doesn't learn, and he didn't learn, and that'd probably be a very good idea for him to retire sooner than later, because it's like every time you're just watching the same guy kind of go out the same way and follow into the same traps. It's just it looks bad. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I think was that his fourth loss in a row.
Yeah, although the one previous to it was relatively controversial. He gave Quigley a really good fight, but even up until like the later rounds, he was taking a beating in that fight. It was pretty much just Quigley gassed out towards the end, but he took some serious shots regardless of how good of a fight he put up.
Yeah, I like Glenn Tapia, but I agree, man. I think he should hang it up. I'm looking through my list, and I think we've kind of covered everything now. There's probably some obscure Filipino fight that you saw that I didn't. So, is there anything else?
Oh yeah. Well, there's one that I kind of mentioned in our little pre-show talk. Christopher Rosales. He was fighting over in Italy. Chocolatito's cousin fighting over in Italy against this guy named Mohamed Abadi, fighter originally from Morocco that fights out of Italy. And Rosales got a nice 7th round knockout, or 7th round corner stoppage. He stopped it after the round before the 8th started. And good win for him. He's I think he got the WBC International belt off of that, so that, that basically says that he maintains his high ranking or whatever. I thought he beat Andrew Selby when they fought. A lot of people felt that he kind of got screwed in that fight with horrendous scorecards. You want to talk about bad scorecards? Those were really bad. You'd think that Selby pitched a fucking shutout looking at those cards, and you'd like completely forget that Rosales dropped him in the first round, and then just gave him just a good kind of 50-50 even fight the whole way through. But here against Abadi, he was a lot more active, threw a lot more punches, wasn't waiting as long, and Abadi was pretty scrappy. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Masson versus Higa fight, where Abadi he showed that he has some pretty good skills, pretty good levels to him. but he was just kind of outgunned in there. And in the midst where there would be certain times where he would throw one or two shots and then stop or pause and then kind of try to be defensive. Rosales would follow up with that 3, 4, 5, and then that's really what made the difference of Rosales kind of just taking over the fight, beating up Abadi and forcing the corner's hand. I'm sure Abadi will probably be able to grow from it. I think this was only his 14th fight, so another guy that was moved relatively quickly. But Rosales, definitely has a good future ahead of him. I think he's still showing that he's unless you're like an elite kind of a level guy at flyweight, it's going to be really difficult to beat him.
Who trains Choco's cousin?
I'm not even sure.
Think it's the same trainer?
Sure. No.
Okay. Any other fights?
No, that's it.
All right. Normally we kind of talk about news, but not much news that I remember this week. Have you got anything?
I'm trying to remember. There was a couple of things in particular that I remember seeing.
I'm just trying to skip over box recs for the last 7 days, but there's nothing really. Pretty quiet. I'm just looking at it now. Callum Johnson's out of his clash with Frank Buglioni, but no one really cares, so...
Well, I guess the WBA removed Luis Ortiz from their rankings also, so no Joshua versus Ortiz happening either. Ortiz is pretty much screwed out of ever getting a title shot, probably ever again. Other than that, there wasn't really too much like going on in the background deals and all that stuff.
Yeah, Arrigo Boss is in the Mixler chat, sneaking in there. But what up, Harry, man? We miss you, man. Come back, even though you were casual. He and Overbrov said that I forgot to mention a card that was on the channel Dave, promoted by Haymaker Ringstar. That's the joint venture between David Hay and Richard Schaefer.
Yeah, that's right, Joe Joyce.
Oh, did you watch it?
Yeah, I saw bits of it.
What did you think of Ian Lewson's pants falling down continuously?
Well, I mean, I only saw parts of that. I was mainly watching for Joyce, but yeah, man, nah, not the best use of my time, to be honest.
I don't know. If you're in the amateurs that long, then you are gonna basically have that style where you throw in multiple shots, but not many of them have weight behind them, and that was my big issue. She was throwing a lot, but yeah, there wasn't like in heavyweights. You want every punch to be a big, heavy power punch.
Yeah, he looked like the same as he had as in the Ams.
Yeah,
in the Olympics and the amateurs and all that. And actually, I thought he got screwed. I thought he probably should have deserved the gold in the finals against what's his name, the French dude,
Tony Yoka.
Yeah, Tony Yoka. There you go. Yeah, I thought he did. I thought he outworked Yoka there in the finals, but they wanted their husband and wife co-gold medalists.
Exactly. Maybe you can wrong that right sometime in the professional ranks.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd guess that Joyce would probably translate a little bit better than Yoka, but I mean, Yoka looked like he was punching pretty hard in his pro debut. So
it's punching hard.
Maybe. Punching hard, yeah. But Joyce. I don't know. It's kind of a funky style for a heavyweight, because they're not like super hard, like where you really see the power on them type punches. He's like more of like a volume guy, but you don't really see too many volume guys in heavyweight. So
yeah,
it's a style that may be difficult for a lot of guys to be able to fight. But I don't know. Like he seems just a little bit too stiff, a little bit too straight. And I don't know. I just get the sense that he's kind of a knockout waiting to happen with the way that he stands and everything.
I get a sense that you wanted to use the term "big stiff idiot."
Yeah, very much.
In your Tyson Fury impersonation. Come on, Neil, give it to us. We've not heard it for a while.
You broke plumber from Liverpool. You're a big stiff idiot. I'm gonna knock you out.
Yeah, so we'll see how his career goes. I didn't really like the broadcast from David. It was a bit too nightclubby, a bit too much blowing smoke up all David Hay and Schaefer's fighters' asses. There were 2 other fights on the card. There was the Scottish dude who I was impressed with. What was his name? Willie Hutchinson. It was funny because Leon was like, "Oh, I like Hutchinson," and I said, "Oh, he reminds me of a bigger Boy Jones Jr." And he was like, "Yeah, you're right." So maybe by that we've already jinxed him because it seems that's what we did with Ben. So sorry about that, Ben. But yeah, Willie Hutchinson, he looked decent. But the weird one, Michael Page. So I think he's from Bellator MMA or something, and he's one of these guys that's just a showman. He's dancing about, fucking around, switch hitting, But Naota, why does everyone need a unique selling point these days? Why can't your unique selling point be that you're very good?
Well, I mean, I think it's just a matter of them trying to, cross over and get the casuals more involved and stuff like that, and basically be prepared for it, and that on top of their rise in being very good, they can also get people to want to see them for the kind of wild antics and the showmanship, I guess.
Yeah, but then you look like a dick when you get knocked the fuck out. That's the problem.
Yeah, Usman Ahmed style.
Yeah, man. Uzi still has nightmares about that shit. But yeah, that was all I saw. David were a bit poor, I thought. But yeah, should we move on to next week? I guess not much. Looking at the schedule, really, it's the card in Cardiff, which seems like everyone's a changed opponent. The last super middleweight fight was it the quarterfinal, Brandt versus Jürgen Bremer. So let's get that one out of the way. If you look for footage of Brandt, Naota, on any platform, there's not much about, bro. That worries me. And when I did watch some. I don't know, man. He's pretty wide with his hooks. His jab and his straight punches are decent, but I don't know. My only concern on the other end is how the fuck is Bremer gonna make super middle, man? The guy's been light heavy for so long, and he's kind of close to being washed, so he's going down, and like he looked pretty shot against Cleverly, and I know Brandt's a different style to Cleverly. He's not going to stand in there in his face and trade. But
yeah,
it's an intriguing fight.
Yeah, I mean, it might be one of those fights where like they both look really terrible because Bremer's drained and old, and Brandt's just not that good. Or I mean, who knows? Maybe Brandt will show something that we haven't seen yet because pretty much nobody's seen him at all. So so it's kind of a wild card here. I mean, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that we get a good fight out of it, but I'm not holding my breath for it.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the big one then. Originally AJ versus Pulev, now AJ versus Takam. Before we talk about the fight, Naota, I'm never convinced when people say, "Oh, he's been on standby. He knew that if anything happened, he would be in line for the fight." Because I just can't see anyone training with that same discipline. When you're involved in the press conferences, when you're involved in the behind-the-scenes little films and shorts and stuff for media promotion, it's different to when you're just like a backup. Like you can be at home. I know it's heavyweight, so they don't have to be as dedicated because they don't have to make a weight or anything.
I mean, you really don't have to be dedicated at all. I mean, for all we know,
look at Lewison.
Carlos Takam could have been fucking training by playing, FIFA and Fight Night. That was and Wii Fitness.
Yeah,
that was his training for the fight.
Well, to your point,
up until he got advanced to actually being on it.
Well, to your point, apparently Ian Lewison had an 11-week training camp for that Joyce fight. It didn't look like it though.
Yeah, that's probably what he was doing then.
Fight
the
Night.
exact program I just laid out. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, what do you think, Naota, man? Like, Takam's a small dude. I don't think he's like in shape of where he would be if he was the original opponent. So in theory, if you kind of combine them together, it should be an easy win for AJ.
Yeah, and I think it will be. I think it will be an easy one for AJ. Joshua, he's one of those few guys that's kind of, next level, where it's like you could really picture him. Like, you picture him against most of these guys that he's fighting, and not only is he gonna, beat him, he's gonna beat him up, he's gonna beat him down, he's gonna really do damage to him. And Takam, I just don't think that he has the skills to be able to avoid the fate of getting laid out highlight reel style. Nor do I think that he's necessarily entirely prepared for it. I mean, this isn't Joseph Parker, who is basically like a giant version of one-time Thurman, the KOs for life. This is a guy that is KOs for life. This is a guy that I mean, just look at the punches that he lands. Even when he's not landing cleanly, it's looking like his opponents are making these weird little fucking faces and shit when he touches them, And I think Joshua. I don't think Joshua was going to waste too much time with Takam. Man, I see him stopping him, within a few rounds. Takam isn't like a defensive specialist or anything, and I don't think that he really has the power to hurt Joshua unless he's able to like land a few shots on him. Unless he lands like a combination. And that Joshua, he's just one of those guys. He's, like I said before, he's next level, especially in comparison to somebody like Takam. He's gonna destroy him.
Yeah, I think probably 5 max, and I think when he lands clean on him, especially the fact that he's had those nightmares when Povetkin iced him. Whether that was Povetkin was clean or not, who knows? But icing is icing, so you're definitely going to relive that against AJ, I think.
Yeah. And see, in that fight, he was reasonably competitive too, and a lot of that icing came from the fact that Povetkin was able to kind of get a beat on him as Takam was still trying to land on him. With him against Joshua, I think as soon as Joshua touches him, he's going to start trying to shell up, and he's going to be a little bit in survival mode. So it may take another round or two for Joshua to get the job done. But that's what happens. That's pretty much what I say about to people like Mr. Fix in the comment section talking about, oh, why doesn't Joshua have many one-punch KOs? Because when he touches these fucking guys, they bitch out. That's why. They stop trying to win and start trying to survive fucking Anthony Joshua running roughshod over their ass.
I've kind of asked you about this over the last few weeks, so I'll give my final question to you about Ishida Yafai fight. What's your final views on it? Do you think Yafai will be able to get through it?
I think it's a pretty close fight, tough fight for Yafai. I should think Ishida is going to give him some issues with the height and reach, which Yafai usually normally uses to his kind of advantage. He'll kind of try to pot shot you from the outside, then clinch you on the inside. But Ishida's a pretty good fighter on the inside as well. So I think he'll give him some good rounds. I think Yafai will probably just be a tad too quick for him, though. It'll be like just a little bit too quick on the first step, the first shot getting thrown. But I know Yafai may be having some weight issues too. I know that he used to campaign a bit higher in weight, and just something about his last fight. I feel like he might have been a bit flat due to that. That's just kind of the sense that I got from it. So I mean, if that comes to haunt him here against Ishida, that may be troublesome. Although, I mean, given the location of the fight, I think it's very, very doubtful that Ishida gets a
basically it's going to be a close fight. Everyone's going to agree, and there'll be like a 119 scorecard.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Zhakiyanov Burnett scorecards all over again.
Yeah, that was disgusting, man. It's good that Ricky.
The judges score it 121, 102.
Wait, what?
Just adjusted the boxing scores for the whole of the Queensberry rules. Moving on, I hate Dillian White, but I don't think Robert Helenius will be able to do anything. I'm crossing my fingers, man, but I think Helenius, he had so much time off, he came back, he had a few fights, he got iced, and he's had a few quick wins, and I don't know, against lower opposition, so even though I don't rate White highly, I think he's good enough to beat Helenius. What do you think?
Wait, you don't think that White is good enough to beat Helenius?
I don't rate White, but I think he's good enough to beat Helenius.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Like I misheard you because this fucking guy was revving his ridiculous engine outside. It sounded like a damn vacuum cleaner. Anyway, Helenius isn't that good. He is absolutely the fucking definition of a big stiff idiot. I mean, like whenever you hear Leon get on here and get hella salty about the heavyweight division, Robert Helenius is who I picture. You know, when he's talking about like how these guys have no skills, I'm thinking of fucking Robert Helenius. Dillian White, I think, wins this pretty handily. He's just a better fighter.
You think he'd stop him or just go to points?
I mean, Helenius is a big guy. He's reasonably durable. But he was stopped by Duhaupas. I mean, Duhaupas can punch a little bit though too. He has a little bit of power.
Yeah. That was a nice icing as well.
I think, yeah. I think it'll be kind of a controversial referee stoppage around the 9th round for Dillian White. That's how I'll call it. Where people will be like, "Oh, what a terrible, shocking stoppage!" You know.
Yeah.
White was winning the whole fucking fight.
I'll be tweeting out #fuck that stoppage.
Yeah.
Lenroy Thomas rematching David Allen for the Commonwealth belt. He beat him previously. Lenroy, the Southpaw Jamaican. I don't know. It's not. David Allen probably just wants to wrong that right, but it's not really. The first fight wasn't great, so I don't expect this one to be great. Katie Taylor's fighting Anaya Esther Sanchez for the WBA World Female Lightweight title. Frank Buglioni, as I said, he's got his late replacement Craig Richards because Callum Johnson's pulled out. And, of course, it's Eddie Hearn, so the rest are basically Olympians. Or pay the mortgage. Joe Cordina's on there. Lawrence Okoli and Joshua Buatsi. So, overall, for a pay-per-view, even though I complain week in, week out, it's shitty, man. That's the level of pay-per-view we get these days, so... Yeah. It's a shame. And I'm done, Naota's fucking record show. How did we condense that much into such a short time?
Skills, man. Skills pay the bills. But got bad news. Thanks to Jazz in the chat. Looks like Burchelt, his right hand is still damaged, injured, hurt. So it looks like he pulled from the Salido fight.
He's ducking, bro.
I was looking forward to that.
He's ducking, bro. He's ducking.
Everybody's ducking Salido. Nobody wants a piece of him.
I think Burchelt's going to become a bit of a sick note, you know.
Yeah, it might be possible. And it's rough, especially for somebody that tends to, his style is largely reliant on the power. For him to be having hand issues like that's not exactly the greatest look in the book, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for him.
And he's young as well. Like if those things don't fully recuperate and he has other injuries in the future, by the time he's like 29, 30, he's like his body's just going to be broken down.
Yeah, Takashi Miura's skull may have made Burchelt into a shot fighter overnight.
Possibly. Anything else you want to talk about, Naoto?
Nah, I think I'm tapped out.
Oh shit, Naoto's tapped. All right, Nikki, thank you as always. Thank you to all the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically banging, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass.
Just to play devil's advocate. You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side.
But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you? He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.